What is going on, everybody? Jumbo Thick here. We are back with the Expedition of the Damned. This is our Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay 4th Edition campaign. I'm, of course, your GM, your DM for the night, Jumbo Thick, joined by the full cast and crew. Let's do some brief introductions before we get into the game. It's been about 2 weeks for us since we've been able to play. And I'm excited to get into it because we got probably a hell of a session, quite literally. Let's start off with Pierce Galactic.
Hey, what's going on, everybody? It is I, Pierce Galactic. I play everybody's favorite handgunner, most handsome, the eldest of the humans. Excuse me, the eldest of the humans. Sorry, Nog. The greatest shot, the greatest lover.
Oh,
The banest of the bane.
okay.
Still smell like crap. Still smell like delicious.
Mhm.
I did want to say something real quick. There's been a lot of really great feedback and intercourse, not the word I wanted to use, or did I? Interaction on the comments, just talking about who's getting a Bane, why they should get a Bane, why they should not have said don't get a Bane, this and that. And I just want to say thank you to our viewers because it's really enjoyable to read them and really enjoyable to respond to them. So I'll just kind of jump the gun on that and hand off now.
All right, let's slide on down to Doobie 209.
What is going on? Playing Henry Berthold, the now first knight. It's probably 17 or 18 years old now, 6'1", with white hair, blue eyes, and I totally forgot what the fan votes were, so hopefully I am not involved.
Indeed. Let's slide on over to Nate.
Hey everybody, Nate here. I'll be playing Lucien Levesque, a human duelist, standing about 5'7" or so, shoulder-length brown hair, wielding a rapier, swordbreaker, sometimes pistol, sometimes crossbow, sporting a brand new cloak of deflection, which I quite excited about, and I hope it comes in handy in tonight's scuffle.
Yeah, we'll see. Let's slide on over to possibly, we'll see, to Jumbo Smooth.
Hello everyone, I am Jumbo Smooth. Sorry you cannot see me currently. I have a baby in my arms. He thirsts for milk and only milk. But I am Luther Steinhauer. I play he's a Grand Pyromancer. Formerly, I had my own apprentice under my tutelage. Unfortunately, he is no longer with us. Luther is a 6 foot tall, attractive wizard. Red hair, green eyes. Really something to look at. Behold. He's found himself as a leadership position on this expedition.
So humble too.
Not so humble, exactly. Humble. Luther the Humble is his full name, title. He did get a giant ogre-sized shit exploded on him, and Wolfram. He was there next to him. The previous episode.
Such an experience.
He also had his fingers blown off.
It happens as well.
It was a rough outing. But hopefully this one goes better. I'm excited to see what horde of whats are coming towards us.
All right, that'll bring us to last but not least, Dan Decker.
That's right, everyone. Hello, I am Dan Decker. I am playing, as always, here on the expedition, Nog Throat Ripper, the only non-human, 10.5 foot tall, 30-odd years old, man-eater, and a mercenary. Just recently awarded thank you to all of the viewers, a butcher's belt that I am so eager to ogre with, because As I understand it, it allows me to just have a better more of an effect. I was already eating people, so now I get to eat people and get stuff for it. I think so. That's pretty cool. And I have, of course, the ever-present and much needed Rory Rumster as my constant companion. Nog is, for better or worse, loyal to a fault to Mr. Luthor, and also Henry. But you know, hopefully he will never have to decide where his loyalties lie. You know,
Never.
Yeah.
Never want him to.
Yeah. No. GM Thick would never do that.
No. It's never going to happen. All right. Well, that'll bring us to the last we left off. The crew of the expedition has found themselves wandering the high desert of the great sands of Araby. We recently stopped at Vulture Mountain, one of the only landmarks between here and Sudenburg that you knew of, at least. And one of the only places you could possibly recover some supplies that were very much needed after the treachery of the former Knights Panther of the expedition, after all of that took place, leaving you in a tight spot. Upon making it to Vulture Mountain, you decided to not only collect some resources, but you also made a bit of a pact, a deal with a ogre warlord, essentially, the prophet of the Maw, a massive ogre butcher leading the Sand Eaters around Araby, eating all things in the Maw's glory. And in so doing, you were tasked with delivering a legendary winged creature to his table. You managed to do so quite expertly and with a great amount of luck. Suffered no casualties of any kind. We're able to deliver.
Three fate points, bro. Three.
We're able to deliver the Shrieker to the prophet and partake in his mighty feast. Whereupon the expedition was gifted with a surplus of supplies that should last you months through the desert, as well as boons that were bestowed upon several of the party members, as well as possible horrific visions after a mishap involving an ogre's gut and some flatulence. But regardless of that, Wolfram and Luther aside, that had some, one might say, prophetic visions, possibly, if you can look back and think back on what those were. You were cleansed of all corruption and taint, unfortunately, by the Unk amulet that Lucien had procured back in the Sheik. Was able to rid the two of you of your disease. I was looking forward to watching you shit yourselves for a couple days. Very true to life for myself.
I was prepared to play that out, bro. Exactly. I was dedicated. I mean,
it was too late though.
Got my man diapers on and everything. I was ready.
You then came across a. You were also given in that hoard of loot a chest, appeared to be of dwarven make. Luther decided to use his magics to open the chest. It appeared to not react well to magic. Blew his fingers off. So you taped him back on. You know, used some elbow grease. Got it all working again. No harm, no foul. We decided to not fuck with the chest for a little while, at least for now, until we can figure out how to open it. And you went about your way. This did lead to what could have possibly been a hazardous encounter if you had not made some previous decisions in the campaign to aid some of the local desert dwellers. As you came across some of the nomadic, almost bandit-like people that rove Araby, the Desert Wind, led by Hazim, a man you saved, essentially, from slavery in Lashik, and offered his tribe services in getting you across the desert safely, acting as guides. With him guiding you, you were able to traverse very quickly and relatively safely, all inclement weather withstanding. However, unfortunately, after a few weeks of traveling away from Vulture Mountain, you were informed by Hazim that there was a large warband that was going to catch up or cross paths with the expedition, and there was no getting around it. They came on too fast, and it was already too late. Hazim made his condolences with Luther that he was not going to kill his people. Instead, he offered him the grace of the Jinn as they left the expedition to defend itself. Will they return? We'll find out. It's hard, that's up in the air on how that's all going to play out.
Wait,
yes.
Did they leave, or did they say they were going to leave and fight their own way?
No. They said that they could not fight with you, and he was not going to expend his own people, and he left you to your own
crap,
devices.
I made that all in my head. I thought we had reinforcements. Crap.
He left that to your own devices, and they made off into the desert in the opposite direction, leaving you with a horde of billowing like smoke, or not only smoke, but dust, and screams and shouts and cries of blood for the blood god, skulls for his throne. You see tattered remnants and vestments being alofted by banners, most of them held aloft with what looks like dangling skeletons and various other flayed individuals. It appears to be a sizable force, at least equal to, if not larger than your own, at least at your current resources. To remind you of the expedition's current state of affairs, you do have your armored wagons. Not that it's going to do you a whole lot of good, because you've lost all of your viable handgunners. You've also lost a sizable amount of your normal troops. You do have at least 100 of the militia men-at-arms, and they are veteran militia at this point. You also have, protecting the actual caravan, the harem guard. There's about 25 women left. They are very good fighters, elite fighters, and they have rifles as well as large, like two-handed, like scimitars. You have Mr. Luther, and you have Nog, yourselves included. And then you have the small contingent of resources that Henry had kept safely from the remnants of the Knights Panther. You don't have much else. You do. Magister Aldebrand, of course, is in attendance as well as Nazaro. But resources are thin, to say the least. All right. From the approaching horde, what you can see from a glance, does someone want to give me a perception test to get a more detailed description of the rival army?
Sure, because I'm sure I'm already on top of the highest wagon that I can get on top of already.
All right, well,
you said a perception check?
Yep, you can sight it in with your scope, so that'll give you a plus 10. Mm-hmm.
That is a 4, so 4. I think that's 8 levels of success. Let me count here.
Levels of
wait,
success.
might not be 7. Only 7 levels of success.
That's okay. Well, you will get all the details then. Wolfram, as you bring up your rifle, your handgun, looking down the scope, tuning it, smudging some of the sand off of the glass. looking out, you see they're going to be upon you within probably 20 or 30 minutes. You have time to prepare and make some plans, but you can tell at the speed they're moving that you're not going to be able to outrun them with the small caravan that you have. Henry could probably get away, but he would be the only one getting away. Those of you that you don't have a lot of horses at your disposal, unfortunately. But what you see, Wolfram, as you look out, is you see large horns atop what look kind of like palanquins that are being ushered by, and the palanquins appear to have a weird metallic sheen. They look like they're made of brass, Wolfram. They are being held aloft by what look like just these savaged, crazed, cultist-like men and women with barely any clothes left. They look scarred, like ritually scarred, as well as probably normally scarred as well. Most of them actively bleeding from various wounds across their body, screaming as they run and hold these palanquins aloft. Amongst them, you see hundreds of cultists, Wolfram. In addition to that, you see somewhat leading is what looks like a full contingent of heavily armored, black-clad, full-plate knights with the ornamentation of what you can assume is chaos, Wolfram. They have strange skull pauldrons about their shoulders, each of them carrying what looks to be an axe of some kind, all of them decorated in brass. Amongst their number, much larger than the rest, is a knight that stands out. He appears to be probably Nog's size. His axe, wielded with one hand, looks like it should be a two-handed weapon, is completely made of brass. It is hard to look at. It has a strange glow emanating from heretical runes etched throughout it. It appears to be actively bleeding as he waves it aloft. His armor is also filigreed in brass as well, as a massive brass collar fitted around his throat. 3 or 4 large horns kind of grown almost like unnaturally out of his helm. In addition to that, you see 2 more concerning things about this retinue. Actually, you do see 3, but the next one, quite obvious, is you see a massive hulking shape bringing up the rear. When I say massive, it appears to be somewhere around 40 or 50 feet tall. It has pale skin, but strange, almost like reptilian scales across pieces of its body. Horns, almost like growing out of different parts of its head. It looks like it's covered in strange, equally to the fanatic, strange carvings and scarification. It is most certainly a giant that has fallen to the whims of the dark gods. And then you see a very bizarre sight. It looks like what you could only describe as a chariot, but it's not being pulled by anything. It appears to be running on its own, like some contraption of the Empire. And it appears to be a cannon of some kind, with an open skull throat that is boiling and brimming with fiery like fluid coming out of its gullets. In addition to that, you do see atop one of the palanquins held by the masses what looks to be a robed figure that has several totems decorated on his palanquin, full of skulls and bones. And he appears to be the one leading the chant. for the Blood God.
Is there material? So I'm going to start mentioning to everybody that, not in the detail you did, but I'll be like,
Yes.
not even a half hour away. We've got to get ready right now. And there's a really big one. There's a giant, I think, and no, there's one your size. I hope you're up for the match, my friend. Is there materials for us to make a barricade? Like, to basically, so we can kind of pile the wagons and have barricades to have them break around to better defend for the militia? I mean, I assume there's like 2 to 4 times what we are.
This is going to be your defensive time to take. Whatever you guys want to strategize, what's going to happen. I will say, one thing that may surprise some of you is, as you guys are meeting for your strategy meeting, the old man Feng Shi comes hobbling up. Oh, yes. I see we're in a bit of a pickle it is, yes. Well, what would you be rid of first? A giant with a strange contraption?
Is he talking to us as a group, or is he
Yes,
talking?
he's
more
like
to
mentioning
Luther?
it to the group.
I'm gonna kind of place my hand on Luther and lean over and say, like, we all know a giant can fall, but that horse's machine, I can smell the bubbling lead or whatever it is from here. I fear that the most. What good will our swords and bullets do against it? Perhaps we should. Luther, what do you think?
I think I agree with you, Wolfram. The contraption seems to be quite intimidating, from your description at least. From my understanding, I've heard of certain blasphemous ballista and all sorts of cannon equipment that the ruinous powers wield. I think, unfortunately, felling the giant might be simpler than trying to dodge flaming rounds.
Very well. Leave the cannon to me. He just kind of hobbles away, mysteriously.
I'm going to get back on top of the wagon and start shouting at the militia, unless somebody stops me like Henry or Lucian, but I'm going to tell them not really enough time to dig trenches, but whatever we have to try and build some kind of barriers would be just some more, like you see in any kind of great fantasy medieval battle movie where the defenders have some kind of apparatus to delay the enemy from overrunning them to hopefully stab them, or cut them down. So that's
perhaps
that's what your soldier is going to be doing.
At the top of a dune, so they have to run up a kind of sandy embankment to get to us.
Better idea.
Okay.
Is it predominantly a cavalry force or infantry force?
It appears like it's mostly the like fanatic cultists.
Okay.
You're looking at like probably about 50 knights, heavily armored. The rest of the cultists are not armored. They're like fanatics.
Yeah.
Naked. Pretty much.
Wait.
Yeah. But there is masses of them.
Is there a set path? Is it really obvious from the dudes and everything that where the cavalry is going to actually come in, or we can pretty much guess the path that will take? Because if it is, I'm wondering if Luther and I could perhaps lightly cover up some powder charges and him alight them with a spark. I'm just throwing this out to you, Luther. I don't know if that's a possibility for you, but I'm trying to use our environment because we're going to die.
Mm-hmm.
I guess it depends on how much powder we have. I'm clear on that.
You have quite a bit because you don't have any handgunners left. And the wagon was still intact. You guys didn't lose any wagons in the fight, luckily. At least any ones that were too important.
Okay. Well, I like that plan. If we can place some strategically placed powder kegs.
Tell me what you guys want to do.
Are there any large
all right.
objects that Nog could move?
Unfortunately,
Tree
you are in.
trunks.
There's definitely no tree trunks out in the desert.
Well, you
So
know,
wherever
I
it's
just,
the
you
most
know,
obvious
large cacti.
of
Nope.
like
It's not that kind of
flat
desert.
land.
It's like
Okay,
Sahara wasteland.
All right,
Yeah,
well,
so
say
the
the
obvious
high
path that
desert
doesn't
then,
count,
okay?
It's high desert.
All right.
I mean, look at your
Let's-
background, Nog. Damn it.
We could probably, depending on how many kegs we have, we could probably put 4 to 6 out with lines with little troughs with powder in it. So all someone has to do is, what's it called? Is it called spark? What is it? You have a
Ignite.
I have dark.
If only we had a
that's it,
pyromancer.
yeah, something like that where he can ignite the whole thing and go up, hopefully in a mining grid. Boom, boom, boom. Perhaps that would help out. Just trying to think here. Also,
Yeah,
real quick,
you guys
Give him time.
Yeah, go ahead. I was
Right.
going to say I forgot to tell you guys about a few resources you may not realize you had. The Hound is also at your disposal. He can be used to delay or attempt to do something for the expedition. He's considered almost like a hero character. He can die doing whatever he's doing, but yes. As well as Lucien, you also have your trusty second. Johanna can also be tasked with things as well, Lucien. If you don't give her a set task, she will just aid you in whatever your endeavor you're completing. Continue forward.
Can I have, since there's no other, I am the handgunner, can I have 4 other rifles if they exist, loaded
Sure.
with small shot, ready to go, so I don't have to
Easily.
take turns out to reload? Perfect. So,
Easily, yeah.
okay.
So are you going to make like a perch on top of one of the wagons, Wolfram, basically?
Yeah, I'm gonna make
A good shooting perch?
yeah, I think almost like Fury Road or Road Warrior, where you
Yeah.
like you kind of built up. Maybe gives me a little bit of cover depending on how our GM feels.
All right. I will tell you, especially if you're getting up on the wagons, you will have company because some of the harem guards station themselves up there as well because they do have handguns as well.
Oh,
Now
fantastic.
they're larger and probably harder to reload than yours. They definitely hit hard. So you have a little bit of firepower, just not a lot because there's not many of them.
Okay. But as long as I can have some preloaded with some small shot, just we get swarmed, I can
Easily
blast them.
done. Easily done, Wolfram.
Awesome, sweet. Okay, your handgunner's ready, bros.
Do we have a plan for Sir Henry and his knights?
Nog takes a small chuckle every time Wolfram calls himself a handgun. The gun's a lot bigger.
Yours is
Well, I would call you a cannoneer.
Oh, I see. I see.
Yours is just
That's-
a pistol, Nog. It just happens to be the size of a human handgun.
It's bigger than a baby's arm.
Luther, do you have any thing that you can open this engagement with? Anything big?
I was planning on, if time allows, hopefully throwing a very large fireball towards the enemies, preferably the knights. But I would settle for any targets. But yes, I did plan on starting it off with a bang, as it were.
A bang, he says.
Right, well,
Um,
we're only going to get one shot at a charge, and the horses will surely die after this. I can either come in from the side, we'll hammer and anvil tactic, or if we are going downhill, you can move out of the way. And we will just charge through.
What if you were to charge after we set out the explosive? That way, even whether it damages them, whether it destroys them, whether it just throws them off, as you hit them, like you said, hammer and anvil, it might be the most devastating. Plus, because there'll be dust and dirt up there in the air, so they may not even see the actual smash when you guys hit them.
My concern is charging out too early and then being surrounded.
At this point, Nazaro begins to speak up. How exactly are we planning on forcing the cavalry to take a specific route?
At this point, I'm gonna look over at the hounds. In our experience with you, you seem to be a man of varied and unconventional tactics. You wouldn't happen to have some kind of powder or aromatic that might spook or frenzy or otherwise hinder their horses?
I don't know what scaring or putting them into a frenzy, but if those are war horses tainted by the ruinous powers, they'll be difficult to deal with. But if you're looking to lure them into a trap, the best way to do that is with bait. If you want to force someone somewhere, you just bait the hook. That's what I would do.
Any volunteers? Obviously, my unit is the fastest.
Perhaps, I do not enjoy saying this, but perhaps if I can cause enough attention, perhaps they would be drawn to me. And then perhaps we can ensnare them if I can survive long enough.
Luther, I thought that you should know. If you die,
That's brilliant. Have him do it.
The expedition will be all but over there, because Magister Aldebrand, I'm afraid to say this, he's not even at the meeting. He is, how do you say, useless? And you are our most valuable asset. I don't. I cannot agree with sending you out to be bait for supposed cavalry charge.
If Luther wants to do this, I will guarantee his protection.
Send the old man.
You will ride with him, Henry.
I will.
And your men?
They will follow me.
And I am more comfortable with that being the alternative.
Sorry.
Consider us Luther's personal honor guard.
I'll give somebody at least to light the powder as well. I haven't had a ton of dealings with the Dark Gods, but I'm sure our Magister friend here can attest that sometimes magic can get funny around them.
Very true. Very true. Mr. Kirsch, I was hoping that perhaps from a safe distance, you seem to be adept at taking out hardened targets. Perhaps you can try to pick off a few of these knights as they move forward.
With armor that thick, it would have to be close. Very close. I could maybe guarantee a handful.
Well, that's enough. I mean, any downed knight would be a huge win for us. As I said, I do not know how long I'll survive, but I do, unless someone else can think of a better option for bait to lure the knights into a certain area. We could perhaps use the wagons. But I assume these are. I understand it. Would I understand that these are Cornite cultists?
Yeah, very much so. With what Wolfram described and the chant that you can hear even this far off, they're most obviously followers of the Blood God.
Well, since they are followers of Korn, it seems we also could. One of our greatest threats could prove a worthy appetite for some of these warriors. They tend to go after the strongest that are out there as well. That being Nog or probably Henry. Hand-to-hand combat, perhaps. But you'd have to demonstrate your skill quickly. Ferociously. They do not care for my type, so they probably would just kill me as quickly as well. You know.
Wait,
Magic
Luther has
users.
a good idea, though. As much as I would like to see him show his manhood by standing against the charge of knights, I mean, he is weak and puny. Not strong like myself. But you take a great warrior like Nog, who has shown us time and time again that not only has he been able to best the worst of them, but his, how should we say, that his command of language and insult is above reproach. It might be a way that he could, or I might try to say something, he would bellow it out in such a way that they would go mad with rage and charge at him. As much as
we did determine that these are knights, right? Chaos knights.
Yeah, these
They're
are
not
full plate knights.
They're not just like chaos horsemen.
No.
It's just these are knights, armored.
They are
knights.
armored.
Okay.
Now they don't as they begin to get closer, Wolfram can attest that they do not have shields. They appear to just be wielding large axes, forgoing any kind of defense for massive offense.
Okay.
But they are heavily armored, though.
Yeah, of course.
Red and kind of like their armor is black with like tinges of red and a lot of brass.
Mm-hmm. Well, I do like the idea of the standing on top of the dune, making them come to us, setting the traps for the gunpowder, any kind of barricade we can to slow down the hordes. I don't have a ton of range on my spell. I can cast it. Well, I can cast it 50 yards. The extent of my range. So after that, it's pretty close. You know? I got one shot. That's probably about it, especially for the knights. The giant? Thoughts? Concerns? What are you gonna do? You know?
What are you gonna do? What are you gonna do?
Eventually, you unleash your ogre, but you know.
I mean, yes. Though remember, you
What
know,
about
the giants are larger than ogres.
Are they though? Really?
Yes, Nog. Unfortunately, they are.
Nog looks out, sees it. He goes, "That's not bigger than me from this distance."
Exactly. Nah.
I can squish it with my fingers.
And of course, that other large fellow with the giant axe seems to be quite intimidating. We need to make sure, try to rally our men as best we can for the horrors they were about to see. Chaos is not something to be trifled with lightly. Some of them will break. We need to hold our lines as well as we can. We'll probably Wolfram and Lucian, it sounds like you might be the ones trying to do some of that. I will try to. Well, we'll see. Henry as well, you know, any kind of rousing speech you want to give before we charge off. Be greatly appreciated. Desaro, of course.
I am a humble man, it appears. Yes, I will, of course, be standing near the front line, bolstering our men as best I can.
Thank you.
All right, so recap. I'm taking Luther
Mm-hmm.
50 yards out.
Sure.
50 yards
guys
seems
Riding
far.
back.
Perhaps maybe
Within 50
I thought you
yards.
guys were. I thought Nog was going out. I'm confused.
So I'm taking Luther out, doing the Alpha Strike, and then riding back.
Who's going to prepare the explosives?
I would assume they would already be prepared. This is why I've been talking, because I would have been yelling at the militia to dig some holes and lay some.
Who's going to go bury and make sure the explosives are good to go?
I mean, I can. Nog would probably be pretty quick at moving barrels out there.
And he's uses gun. He's familiar with gunpowder.
I can have Ignis if it's a. Well, I don't want
But you're flaming.
Burn your
no.
flaming
Myself
dog.
and myself
Carry
and,
the gunpowder.
and Rory. Rory's familiar with bombs.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, we can have Nog set up your trap. Why not?
Well, yeah.
What could go wrong? What do you need from me,
Wolfram
boss?
or whoever can,
You have the option of having Kirsch set up your trap as well. The mongrel.
Kirsch would probably
Yeah,
be pretty
send
good.
that guy. I hate him.
Kirsch is probably an expert at setting traps, so
Probably.
whatever Kirsch needs for help and assistance.
Kirsch using
And you guys been
Nog.
shot by him either, so I don't really like him.
He's using Nog to help direct and taking what appears to be 4 large barrels of explosives. He's spacing them out at what appears to be 10-yard increments from each other. A very large swath. They're being buried on a ridge line. And hopefully you will get a large blast radius with this. It's set up, Luther. Yeah, he informed you it's set up to be lit at one end or the other, not in the center. There is like a small fuse that's kind of sticking out of both sides. Whichever one you light is the order of detonation. But if you do it from the center, it's not going to ignite well. So you must be somewhat precise, Mr. Luther. Or just blow them all up at once. I don't know, whatever you want to do. With the trap set, the wagons pulled together in some shape or form. Some makeshift barricades kind of stuck in the sand, buried as best they could. The men kind of looking a little antsy, a little on edge as they hear the chanting getting closer and closer and closer. Starting to hear things mixed into it. You start to hear, Ronak comes, the champion of brass. As the terror begins to wash over the expedition, we are about to engage in a large-scale battle, my friends. We haven't done this in a while. You will have morale. The expedition's morale is not very good right now. Mostly because you're lacking bodies. But you have a lot of heroes to make up for it, you hope. Alright, so as far as morale is concerned, it appears that the warband of the Champions of Brass has a morale score of, they've got So things that affect morale. Obviously, insanity affects it, lack of fear, but they also have a gargantuan creature, a war machine, and they have knights at their disposal. That gives them a significant morale boost in comparison to what you guys currently have. So that puts them at that. All right. On the flip side, you guys do have yourselves to help bolster the men. You don't have a lot of bodies, however. But your opener is going to be pivotal in how this is going to take place. So, I'm going to do this real fast, because this could be game-changing. I didn't know if it would ever come up, because I didn't know if you guys would ever run across a large-scale battle out in the desert, but it is going to happen. So right now, your guys' morale is relatively low. Okay. Oh, we're about to enter into combat. The way we do the big battles is you guys are defending. You're going to go first. The expedition is going to go first. You'll each get an opportunity to do something. You can either bolster the fight in some way, or you can take a direct action to affect the enemy's morale and hopefully diminish their killing potential. To do so, you can target leaders. If you kill a leader, the enemy will lose 5 morale for each leader slain. An individual soldier is worth 1. And if you can kill pieces of the knights, then that will significantly start to drop their morale base. If they lose the giant, they'll lose 20 morale. And if they lose their skull cannon, they'll lose 20 morale. If they lose either their warlord or their skull priest, they will have to make a morale check, see if the warband will stand cohesion or if it will just break off into frenzied bands of crazed people. So
this all sounds very delicious.
Indeed it does. All right. With that in mind, we are kicking it off in something somewhat unexpected. As you see the warbands getting closer and closer, you see the Chaos Knights kind of leading the charge. The warlord himself, somewhat in the center, protected but not sheltered entirely. His large brass armor differentiating him from the average knight. His horse much larger and obviously warped by the ruinous powers in some way to be able to hold his girth and form. Whereas I will say the majority of these horses, in fact, do look quite larger and more bloodthirsty than they should. Obviously, all of them are tainted by the foul touch of the Dark Gods. As they are leading what appears to be taking point on what it looks to be just a frontal charge. As they begin to set up, Henry and Luther kind of moving out in a reciprocating fashion, moving slightly off kilter in a direction to try to lure the knights towards your destined explosives. Yes, Luther.
If allowed, while we're walking, I would like to try to be channeling.
I assumed you were riding your horse, Luther?
Yes.
Okay. Yes.
Yeah.
You just said walking. I was like, what is wrong with you?
Well,
okay.
riding. Yes.
Yes, riding. Yes. Okay. Yes. Beginning to channel Luther. All right. Okay. You're gonna find out something about that soon, Luther. Don't worry. All right. So, as the army begins to get closer and closer, and you can now everybody can see each other at this point. It looks like the lines are going to hit within the next 5 or 10 minutes. And they are at a full sprint. These crazed, insane people just tearing across the sand, going over dunes like they're nothing, trampling. You're afraid that any of them were to fall down, they would just trample over each other. But as they move, the giant lumbering behind, the strange-looking cannon that's kind of motorized, moving on its own. There is some kind of like shackled human atop it that's screaming and wailing. He may have a guitar. You're not sure, flames shooting from it. But as as it gets closer and closer, you see the fire begin to boil up at the tip of the skull. And Luther, with your magical sight, you see that that's not cannon fire. You see what looks like raw souls churning inside this thing. Whatever's going to come out of that is something you don't want to be on the receiving end of. And that's when you hear it. The boom. Earth shaking. Wolfram almost shits his pants because he is eerily close to it. As you look over Wolfram in shock, you see that Feng Shi's wagon has twisted and moved as the front picked up. And it appears that it is not a wagon at all. It is in fact a gigantic cannon that is being pulled by oxen. As this thunderous boom echoes out, you watch as the skull cannon is charging up. It is hit center mass and detonates, littering fiery molten metal across its masses in its wake. And we're gonna get straight into it at that point. Okay. All right, so they're -1 skull cannon. Feng Shi cries out, ha! 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 As he's kind of like sitting on the top of it. He says, I get 1 good shot, and the rest is up to you.
I assume everyone's like cheering.
Yeah. It's like, ah. At this point, you see the brass-adorned warlord looks pissed.
Transport is away.
And he just like he with his giant axe, he just points towards Henry and Luther and the regiment, and the knights break off at a full charge at this point, leaving the others behind as they go for a full frontal assault towards Henry and Luther. All right, we're entering into the initiative order. We're going to start with the order we are laid out in. It's going to be the easiest to do because it's not going to matter that much for this. So, we're going to start with Wolfram. Well, first off, before we get into each individual, do we want to wait for the trap to be sprung, or are we?
How far away from me is the trap? As in like 50 meters, 100 meters, 150 meters?
I assumed you guys buried it a decent way away, just to hopefully mitigate possible friendly fire.
Because my range without any penalties is 150 meters. I can start shooting right away. But I don't want to give away the trap. I definitely want to support the plan.
Mm-hmm.
So,
all right. And with that in mind, Wolfram, how about I give you this, because there's a chance that the powder does not go off. Would you like to reserve your action if for some reason, Luther's unable to ignite one of the barrels? Perhaps you can attempt to shoot one of them.
Are the is the Harem Guard, are they far enough away? Are they within range of the Palanquin bearers yet? Doesn't from the way you're describing, doesn't sound like it. I'll reserve my action then. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Henry and Luther, the two of you, I'm assuming still acting as bait, kind of like pulling towards where the explosive barrels are, prepping yourselves, getting ready for what's going to take place. Unless you're doing something different. Luther, I need you to give me a spellcasting channeling roll, and I need to know how many successes you have.
Just a channeling roll?
Let me see your channeling, baby.
39.
That's good, right?
It's pretty good. That'd be 5 levels of success.
5 level success. Okay.
Because of my cross.
All right. Then it's at this point you begin to feel, Luther, as the nights are getting closer. You feel something emanating off the warlord himself, and then you also feel it emanating off of the brass palanquins out amongst the masses. Any magical effects that you wish to use, you will have to double the casting value.
Ooh. Okay. Okay.
As the winds of magic become difficult to make precise in the presence of the blood god.
Damn. I'll turn to Henry and be like, this is going to be quite a deal tougher than I thought. Corn does not like magic, and it appears he is hindering my abilities.
Can you still do it, Luther?
When have I ever let you down? And
All right.
It's a long list of times.
Can you-
I was going to say, there's a lot of fair amount of.
Can you perform it with that one roll, or are you going to need another roll?
Without a channeling test, I would need to do a magic test.
Yes, but do you have enough success levels? Do you think you could do it at this point?
It's possible.
Okay.
If a dart costs 0.
Yes.
Channel.
Mhm.
So, but if I wanted to cast an actual spell, that gets a little more complicated.
What's the range in dart?
Don't get fancy, bro. Just
It's a willpower bonus in yards, so it'd be 50 yards. As far as
Close.
yes,
Close.
yes. Are the knights like cresting close to the trap currently?
So this is depending on what action you're going to take.
Mhm.
It's to the point where you could light it.
Okay.
You probably get the front half of them, maybe. If you waited another turn to let them get even closer, you could get a good center mass group, but you'd be risking a possible retaliatory charge should you not get it off in time.
Okay. All right.
Decisions will have to be made.
Yes. Sorry, 1 second here. Need to look at something.
Henry looking around at your men. They look nervous.
No.
Yes.
We're steady as rocks. I went through and fastened all their armor for them.
Oh,
Touched their pauldrons.
touched all of them. So Henry. Loyal Baudry,
take the shot, bro.
Mm-hmm.
just looking at you the whole time.
We're just staring out.
Henry, you feel heat emanating off Baudry. You kind of feel it in your own as well, emanating from beneath your armor. As the host gets closer.
All right. So I will, and Henry's going to. Once I shoot it, he's going to run away.
He's
Right.
going.
What's
So
he-
essentially, what's going to happen is you guys are performing a dual action. Luther,
Sorry.
you will be responsible for igniting the barrels. You'll have to ignite them. Then I have to roll a black powder mishap test to see if it blows appropriately or not, because it is black powder.
Yeah, black powder. Mhm.
And then, no matter what, at this point, unless you're going to stay again, which you can if it doesn't go off,
Mhm.
Henry will have to make a ride check. Right now, it's unopposed. Next round, it will be opposed. And if his roll doesn't beat the knight's roll, they're going to catch up to you. You will be engaged in a melee fight with the knights that remain.
Okay, but we'll do more damage if we wait a turn.
You will do more damage. I will say that you have a highly more likely to do more damage. I will also remind you that the champion of brass is within the ranks of those knights.
Okay, he's riding too.
Yeah, he's also riding a massive horse, and he's riding away from the whole host after he saw his skull cannon get annihilated.
Okay. Ooh.
I can hear those thunderous hooves, man.
Closer.
I feel like I want to wait. I want to wait and
It's up to
blow
you.
my load later.
Oh.
Yeah, we'll risk it. We'll risk
We're
it.
risking it, Henry
We're
and
risking it
Luther.
all.
Hold. Henry, go ahead and just make me a roll. This is going to be for your knights. You're rolling a cool test. They have a cool of 40.
Okay.
Now, with your leadership, you're nearby. I'll give them a plus 10. But you're looking to keep them in line.
Yes. I also give everybody who can see me a +1 to their willpower.
Okay, good. Okay,
Per
but plus
round.
1 success levels.
Yes.
Okay.
I gotta re-roll that. That's not good.
Ooh, 85's not going to be good.
That's much better.
Well, what is it? No, 23. Yes,
23.
that is more than enough. Henry, you kind of look back over your men, waiting as Luther's like, hold, possibly shaking a little himself. Henry, as you look back over them, you feel this boiling sensation in your chest, and you look towards your men, and you expect to see them shaking, but it's not in the way that you would think. You actually have to bark out a few orders for them to hold still and not charge the knights themselves.
The nails are biting.
That was awesome.
I don't
Inspiration.
like it. I don't like it.
All right.
Real
Nice.
quick, does that mean my held shot for the black powder was kind of just gone this turn?
For now, you're essentially just aiming until we resolve what's going to happen with the two of them.
Okay, cool.
In the meantime, Lucien, you and Johanna, are we amongst the troops, or what are we doing?
Yeah, I figured we were still on the defensive lines,
Okay, mostly on the
regular militia.
All right. Are you making it a point to essentially you're gonna be given full control of the majority of the men in your near vicinity? Are you telling them to simply brace, or like what kind of orders are you giving?
Yeah, it would be an order to to brace and
just
hold,
like brace
hold
for
position.
impact,
Yeah.
essentially. Yes. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. They will be looking to you for orders in the near future, Lucien. Nog. The Nog is kind of off by himself. All his ogres are dead. They died in the last big fight we had. It's him and Rory. I said, Nog, what exactly are we going to be doing, sir? There was an awfully big one out there, sir. I see it. It's getting closer.
Oh, he's a big one, ain't he? He's not too big for us, so Rory, me and you.
But there's also some of them little brass things out there as well, sir. Perhaps you'd like to knock some of them over.
Well, we could go one then the other. We could take out the small ones and then the big one. The big one then the small one.
Now, I will say, sir, if they get into these, into the wagons here, we will lose a good portion of our food stores,
those little
sir.
boogers, we can't have them taking our food.
Exactly, sir. Exactly.
All right, well, let's go clean some house with these little boogers.
Oh.
Don't you think?
Perhaps we should wait for them to get here, sir.
Guard the stores.
At least wait for them to get a little closer, sir.
All right. So I guess we're hanging tight. How far out is the big giant?
He's towards the very back.
Towards the very back
of the
range.
mass.
Out
for
of
sure.
range.
Yes, for sure.
How close is like? Could I do an intimidation?
Oh, sure. If you want to bellow out towards them.
Yeah, to break some morale.
Yeah,
Just as the biggest.
Go ahead and give me
guttural,
one. Let's see what you got, Nog.
The biggest guttural, maw-inspired growl I can muster.
All about it.
A 17.
Pretty fucking good.
My intimidate is an 80 plus
Yes.
Rory, so that's 8. 7 levels of success for an intimidate. Yeah.
Success. Okay. So, all right. As the Nog screams outwards, it is a horrifying roar, boosted
Just
by
the
Rory.
belchiest belch.
As Nog belches outwards in this horrendous, just screeching roar. Rory adds to it by like flinging a cocktail in the air that explodes and like a gout of flame above him. A lot of pageantry here. You see the front lines of the slathering horde kind of like slow down for a moment, on the verge of possibly being run over by their compatriots before stepping back in, but it appears that the morale has been somewhat slackened on the other side.
Nog takes a moment to ponder what eating them in front of their friends is going to do to morale.
Yes, between the cannon, the great cannon that's just let loose, and the mighty Nog. All right, I'll give them that. They actually got some morale damage from that. That brings them to this. Okay. All right. So the end of the first round. Not a whole lot's happened yet because the lines haven't hit. Because we're waiting for the ultimate climax, which we're going to get to now. However, the Chaos Warband did lose some morale, thanks to Nog. All right, that will then bring us to this. We are going to, yes, and Feinchi load is blown. He's a one-shot wonder. The cannon is he cannot reload it fast enough.
What a shot it was.
What shot it was, though. All right. So, with that in mind, we are going to see if our trap is loosed appropriately or not. Wolfram, you will be waiting in the winds should the worst happen. But at this point, I need Luther to give me a test, sir, to attempt to fling your fiery bolt. Your big fireball spell. I don't know what you're going to do.
Luther is going to look at Henry and here we go. And he's going to go out there a little bit ahead of everyone so no one gets caught in the blast. I'm going to try to aim as best I can to get the group of knights and the barrels as best as possible.
Yes.
Well, you have 2 spots, though. I thought there was basically
Yeah, you can either
that's what
go.
Jamie used 2 spots to ignite it at, 1 or 2.
That was it.
How far apart are the barrels from each other?
They're 10 yards from each. There's 4 barrels, so like 40 yards from one side to the other.
40 yards. Okay, then I'll aim for whatever side I guess they are closest to. If that
Okay.
makes sense.
That's
Is
fair.
it 15 or 50
Of what, the knights?
knights? Yeah.
Somewhere close to 50 chaos knights.
Fuck, that's a lot more. I thought it was 15.
No, you guys have a very limited amount of knights. There's a lot more of them.
Yeah, okay. That's a lot more intimidating than I thought. I was like, okay, misunderstood there. So yeah, I'm going to go out there and say don't shame me, Henry. And I'm going to say, my name is Luther Steinhoff, and you will burn by my hands. And I'm going to use a resilience point to cast
So
the
humble.
Great Fires of Uzu.
Holy shit!
Oh, man, look at the size of those balls.
Uh-oh.
Holy shit!
This sounds
Okay.
awesome.
Okay.
Rolling at a 1 to critical cast,
Yes. Mhm.
which I'll use the option for total power, which guarantees
Total
that it
power.
goes off.
Total power. Holy
Total
shit.
power.
Okay.
As
Alright.
I, gather my fire at the tip of my staff and shoot it out.
Mhm.
So the effect is as goes. I don't know if you need to roll for the explosion. Let me tell you what it does first.
Yeah. We'll do normal effect first.
It's a willpower bonus in yards. So
Okay.
that would be 5 yards for me.
Okay.
5 yard blast.
Is that with the extra
Blast.
plus from Henry?
No, that doesn't count. I don't think
Okay.
for this.
Sorry.
Yeah. I think his count for like if I
Like-
get scared or something.
Like
Yeah.
tests.
Cool,
Yeah.
cool tests.
But yes, willpower bonus in yards, 5 yards. Explosion. Flame erupts into a furious blaze, burning with the heat of a forge. This is a magic missile, so it will do 10 damage plus my willpower, which is 5, so 15 damage. It says that ignores AP. It ignores armor points.
Oh, okay.
Um,
Okay.
And inflicts 2 ablaze conditions and the prone condition.
All right.
I'm going to aim for the big guy, if possible, and well, I'm going to aim for the explosion, I guess, the barrels.
Okay. That's probably a wise choice because he's in the,
okay.
the middle.
Okay. Well, aim for the explosion barrels and prone condition.
All right.
It also, everyone within this area effect also suffers an additional 5 points of damage at going AP,
Damn.
and,
Okay. That's quite a bit.
and must pass a challenging dodge test or gain an additional blaze condition.
Oof. All right.
This also, the spell stops behaving as a magic missile at this point. This is the next round, following round, if they're still in the same vicinity of the 5 yards. If they're still in the area effective duration, they have to make kind of rolls because it's still like burning there. So I guess it depends if they're still there or not, and we'll get to that if they're still there. But
Okay. All right. With that in mind, Luther. Is it like it's like a Gandalf like swirl or what is this? You know?
I want to take my staff and like kind of take it and like as I say that, point at them and then slam like kind of as when I'm riding Felicity, slam it down like where it hits the sand and like bounce it back up and then just push forward and a fireball erupts out of the staff.
Okay. Slams into one of the riders on the end. Go ahead and roll me 3d10, please, if you can.
Okay. Separately? Or together?
No, excuse me, 4d10, actually. They just roll all together.
Okay. 25.
25. Okay. All right, I gotta roll for this real fast.
Yes.
Good, 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 and good. All right. So, as this fiery explosion ignites this conflagration, the flames detonate onto the lead horseman on kind of like the more right side. As it strikes him in his chest, it detonates. How much initial damage does it do, Luther?
It's 15 that avoid armor. I think he can still take his
15.
toughness.
15. Jesus.
Yeah.
Plus all the ablaze conditions. All right.
Plus 2 blaze
and they're
conditions.
considered prone. Okay.
Yeah. And if he's still alive after the initial blast, he takes an additional 5 points of damage. So it'd be 20 points of damage
Okay.
total. Plus additional blaze.
All right. In that case, you are going to nail 4 of the riders with your spell, and then
Correct.
you also have ignited all 4 barrels of explosives. They all go off in a row, unhindered. 25 of the knights are caught in the blast radius.
Ooh,
So you got half of the contingent here. The damage is so significant, even with their armor, that they are shredded and exploded in such a fiery conflagration that there is not much left but pieces of armored flesh that rain down around. You do see the remaining knights still do charge through despite the explosion, but more haphazardly and spread out, trying to avoid the bulk of the magic and the explosion that just took place. The men, so the initial horsemen that you hit, are obviously knocked off their horses, and all of them die. Pretty much everybody that is hit in this blast radius dies as well. So there are only 11 horsemen left, plus the warlord. That's all that's left. As they push their way through the burning corpses, Henry!
Let's go, Henry!
It's at this point, Henry, seeing the remnants of what is before you, you have a choice to make, Henry. It looks like you're about even in manpower at this point, Henry. Do you flee with Luther? Or do you charge headlong?
I swore to protect Luther, so I have to flee with Luther.
You tell your men
I'm not out for
move.
glory.
Give me a ride check, Henry. They
Ride
will
check.
make an attempt to catch you.
Wait, is there any way that this is like, can I use my fast shot talent, anything like that, or take this moment that since we saw the travel up to try and take a shot at the knights before Henry makes his decision, because perhaps he'll change his mind depending on the outcome of my shot or volley of Harem Guard?
We'll see what happens in a moment.
All right.
I have 1 success.
1 success. This will be challenged by the knights. They are too distracted by the blast. Henry's able to pull away with Luther. Wolfram, you can make a shot, but it will be heavily penalized from the massive cloud of explosion and magic that has just taken place. They're pushing through, but you will be getting your chance momentarily.
Okay.
Unfortunately, though, as Henry and Luther pull away, making their way as fast as they can back towards a staging point, that's where we're going to take our first break.